You know, you don't have to know perfect recipes to love being in the kitchen. It's the time that you spend in the kitchen together that you remember.
Delicious. Welcome to Ingles country, where making meals and making memories is the family business. Where those faded recipe cards and dog-eared cookbooks contain the pages of our much-loved history. Here, we pass on more than pies, cakes, and casseroles. We share a little bit of heart and soul from one generation to the next. This is the Ingles Table Family Traditions. Hi, I'm Sarah Elizabeth. On today's episode, I'm welcoming a new friend to the Ingles Table. If she looks familiar, you may recognize her from the Ingles I Know, a brand new series that helps you discover the many great gems that Ingles has to offer. She's a wife, a mom, a fashion writer, and a former Mrs. North Carolina. She's Angela Ramsey, and this is the story of Cynthia's Buckeyes. Angela, thank you so much for joining us here today at the Ingles Table Family Traditions. You've brought a delicious dessert recipe to share today. Can you tell us where it came from?
Sure, it came from my mom. It's a recipe that I made during my childhood. We've just made some substitutions to it now for our family.
So what is this recipe called?
It's called Buckeyes.
Okay.
Kind of like the nut that falls from the tree that you see outside. Those are actually poisonous, so you don't want anything to eat that outside, but these candies are delicious. So they look just like them.
So what do we have here that we're starting with?
We're starting with a vegan soy-free butter.
Okay.
And we have 1 cup of that, and then we're gonna use this almond butter, and we're gonna use the whole thing, because that's what makes it so creamy and delicious.
So did you help your mom with these when you were younger?
I did. We did most of the eating, not a lot of the cooking, but yes.
And did you make them any time of year, or was there a special time?
A lot of times we made them around the holidays, but my mom would break them out during the middle of the year too, because it was always something we would request. She always cooked a lot for us growing up, and she had some of these special little recipes that were passed down. This recipe actually is passed down from a lady who we grew up in church with. I would sit in her lap sometimes and hang out with her during the service, I remember. So she spoiled us rotten, and this is one of the ways she used to spoil my mom. And my mom passed it down to us. If you want to help me mix this up, Sarah,
I sure
you can.
will.
So we've got a whole box of powdered sugar. There's a lot of powdered sugar in there today, but that's what makes it yummy and delicious. So we have powdered sugar, almond butter, and butter here. And that's going to make our creamy center for the Buckeyes.
Good foundation right there. So do your kids help you nowadays making your Buckeyes?
Yes, they love to. And this is the part that they usually do. It's good with a mixer. I usually go over it with a mixer afterwards, but I let them get their hands in this part and get it all nice and mixed up. All right, this is looking nice and creamy, so we're gonna add about a teaspoon of vanilla. I just love this part.
Oh, this smells incredible.
And once this gets all nice and smooth, it's just about there. We're gonna pop it in the freezer for about 30 minutes and let that dough get hardened.
Perfect. Okay, so these have had a chance to freeze. So what's our next step?
Well, if you're doing this at home, we've already done a step in between. So we've frozen the dough in the freezer for about 30 minutes after we mixed it.
Right.
And then we've gone ahead and skipped a step, rolled these into balls. You want to, after you roll them into balls, put them back in the freezer, because the warmth of your hand is kind of gonna get it doughy.
Sure.
You want to get it firm again and ready to dip in this chocolate. So this has already been frozen again in the freezer for 30 minutes, and we're getting ready for our coating, which is the fun part.
Awesome.
So we're gonna take a chocolate chips here. So this is a whole bag of chocolate chips.
Okay.
You just go ahead and dump it into a little saucepan here on the stovetop. And I have this on very low. I'm gonna put 2 teaspoons of coconut oil in here.
Okay.
Just helps that coating. A long time ago, my mom used to use a wax, and some people still do, but in our family found a good substitute is the coconut oil. You know, I love cooking in the kitchen with my children, and I like them to experience some of those goodies that we had when we were younger, but more so than that, to be able to share with other people. So this recipe, I love it, because I think we counted the other day when we made it. It made over 40 little almond butter balls.
Right.
So we had a lot to share. That's a lot for us to eat with a small family of 4. So I like to be able to pass on not just the recipe, but that generation of sharing and caring with someone else. And this is a great recipe to do that.
Oh, what a great life lesson for your kids too.
That's the great thing about these too. If you want to make a big batch like this or even double the batch, they freeze great and de-thaw great. So you can have something on hand for if you have company visit or just want a sweet treat in the middle of the night one night.
Sounds like the perfect option right there.
And this is something the kids like to do with me, and I remember always doing this with my mom too. She always let us lick the spoon, so we didn't go anywhere when chocolate was cooking on the stovetop.
Okay, can you please tell me a little bit about Cynthia?
My mom, well, she's my best friend. So she taught me everything I know. She'll say she didn't teach me a lot about cooking, but she did. You don't have to know perfect recipes to love being in the kitchen. It's the time that you spend in the kitchen together that you remember, and that I hope our kids will remember long after I'm gone one day, or long even after the recipe doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. I want them to remember the time that we spent together, and that's what I remember from my mom. That's why I like being in the kitchen. So growing up, I told you I grew up in Woodfin,
right?
And my mom's father was the fire chief at the fire station there, and my grandmother owned the beauty salon right beside it.
Oh, how nice.
So they could go back and forth during the day and see each other. And later on, they owned a mechanic shop right down the street, and the house we grew up in was right down the street from that. So the whole street in Woodfin was pretty much a lot of history from our family. And this recipe is one of my grandmother's dearest friends. Her name was Nina Treadway. I still remember her. And she used to make them for my mom, and my mom asked for the recipe, and that's how she started making them for us girls.
So how's it look?
There we go. It's getting nice and creamy. This is about the point where you want to start getting your toothpicks ready. Let it just sit on the stove. Just keep an eye on it. Don't let it get above that really low temperature. Do you want to help me with this part too, Sarah?
You know I do.
This is the best part. Here we go. Got all the toothpicks in there. These my kids like because they actually look like something they can recognize. Do you see how the important part about Buckeyes, it doesn't have to be perfect. You dip it around in the chocolate and you leave that oval center around the toothpick open so that you can see that almond butter in the middle. And sometimes it's hard nowadays, especially in classrooms, so many are peanut free, and this recipe was traditionally made with peanut butter. So for our family, we kind of changed it around and we used almond butter. It's an easy substitute. Well, let's just finish up a few more and we'll pop these in the freezer so we can get started on eating them up right away. That's the hard part about these, is all the freezer time where you just have to busy yourself doing something else for 30 minutes while they chill, but it's worth it in the end.
It teaches patience to the kids and helps
sure
us relearn it as well.
Sure does.
Well, these look beautiful.
They did turn out really nice. The last thing that I would tell you about these Buckeyes is that you can leave the toothpicks in after they're all frozen and ready to eat, or you can take them out in a little tip, just like you would ice a cake. I know my mom taught me a long time ago to take the spatula and dip it in hot water and just kind of ice the cake, and it makes the icing go on smoother.
Right.
Same concept, but you can take your finger and just dip it in a bowl of warm water and just smooth over where that toothpick hole is if you're presenting them for a party or you want them to look nice. At home, we usually don't get to that step where we just pop them in and eat them. You want to try?
I think we have to.
So too. Cheers.
Cheers. Delicious. Thank you so much, Angela, and thank you for cooking along with us. If you want to try Cynthia's Buckeyes, we've got the recipe right here at ingles-markets.com. And if you want to share your family recipes, find us on Facebook and come to the table. The food's good here at Ingles Table Family Traditions. Take care.